This is John Hope Bryan, and I'm here with somebody who has quickly become one of my favorite people. Jerry, as he's told me to call him. Jerry is formerly known as the CEO of the bank with the biggest market share in Mississippi, is Trustmark Corporation. And Jerry is located specifically in Jackson, Mississippi. And it's appropriate that his last name is Host because he behaves like one when he meets people. He's got an open heart for everybody he meets. And I asked Jerry, by the way, we're here to acknowledge the 150th Hope Inside location. Jerry's bank, Jerry Host, he's the CEO of Trustmark Bank, is the 150th Hope Inside location for Operation Hope here in
we're here in Memphis, Tennessee.
Tied to the city of Memphis.
Yeah, it's John. It's a really unique program, and that's what we like about it. The mayor of Memphis and his team have made a huge commitment to all of the first responders and other city associates from a health and wellness standpoint, and that includes financial wellness.
Yeah.
And so, combined with your organization. We're establishing, I think it's really the first one of these that's out there, Hope Inside, our bank that will do outreach to city employees in terms of financial education, literacy, coaching, credit counseling. You got it. You know them all. And then hopefully what that does, that translates into ways that we can help them with some of our products and services that they can go out and own a home.
Yeah. So the mayor here in Memphis is a really good man. Mayor Strickland, is one to finish what Dr. King started with support for the sanitation workers, and that's now expanded to support for some 60 years later, support for all city workers, as Jerry has just mentioned. And one thing I like about what Jerry has just said is, if you're watching this video and you're wondering what's in it for Jerry, why is he doing this? Well, he just told you what's in it for Jerry, and I love transparency. Jerry is speaking my language. It's not white, black, as in race. It's not red, blue, as in political party. It's not even geography. It's green. In the U.S., we call that U.S. currency. Jerry says, I want some customers.
Absolutely. We want customers, but we want
sustainable customers.
Sustainable customers, but we also want to change lives and change communities. And we saw an example of that today. We visited United Housing and what they're doing in the Wolf River area in terms of an entire neighborhood
outside of Memphis
that is transforming and giving opportunities to people, first-time home buyers. Wonderful operation, and that's the stuff that is transformative. And to be involved in something like that, as you are, day in, day out, is a good thing, and it makes you feel like what you're doing is meaningful. So
it does, and it is, and thank you for that. But the reason I like your answer better than the moral answer is, I can't come give a speech every week and inspire somebody. I can't, I don't want to go beg somebody to help poor people or struggling people every 6 months. I want the dignity of doing for self. And I love the concept that we're preparing people, rehabilitating their financial picture, restoring their hope, giving them the tools to compete in society, raising their credit score, raising their confidence, raising their self-esteem, expanding their optionality, so that they're not coming and begging you for business. You and your associates are begging them for their business. You're competing with other institutions now, trying to get them to do business with you to become a sustainable home. Go ahead.
No, it's absolutely right, and it's all based on trying to create an environment where we can help to educate people so that they understand home ownership, they understand budgeting, they understand debt management,
savings,
all those things that make all the difference and really transform lives.
And many things that I'll say you and I, because the issue here is not racial in this particular situation. A lot of things are unfortunately racial. But in this particular situation, me being a young black man from Compton, California, you being a Caucasian man who grew up in Detroit, we'll talk about that in a second, we have the benefit of parents who told us how the system worked. And what we talked about earlier is because of the Freedmen's Bank legacy of 1865, Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass creating this bank after the Civil War, and Lincoln gets killed a month after he signs the legislation for the bank to charter to teach free slaves about money. And all the people who lost their money, some 72,000 depositors who were Union soldiers and Union nurses, formerly enslaved people who trusted the government. Here we are, they were enslaved, all these horrible things happened to them because of race. And now they move to a class system, they put their money, they trust the government, and the government's bank closes. They're like, okay, I'm done with banking. And I think that, that was 1865. Look, 151 years later from that incident, and 350 years later after the start of slavery, I think that we're still dealing with this, at least with the African American community, and I think that it's not so much different from people who are just struggling, period, even poor whites in the Appalachians or in Mississippi. It's just a lack of trust of the power structure. And without that, you can't, banking is a trust system, but you can't communicate, so you can't have, the bank won't grow without trust, but the communities won't grow without access to banks. So if we can get together and create the Starbucks of financial inclusion, a network across the country of these Hope Inside coaching locations, or whoever else wants to do it, by the way, and get people all coached up. And you think you're telling me even Habitat for Humanity is doing some great stuff.
Doing some great things
Around
and
it.
have been for 35 years in and around Jackson, Mississippi. They are a perfect example of how you transform communities and people. We have homes that we built 30 years ago that look as good as they did the day they were first constructed and moved into, simply because people have pride. They own those homes now,
Right.
and they want to keep them up, and they've transformed a complete neighborhood, and that makes all the difference.
Of all races.
Yeah.
Yeah. So see how casually he said that? Yeah. So I'm like, well, Jerry, how'd you get so decent? Like I'm used to people who are sort of stuck in their own little world. Jerry is comfortable in all places. And we've been in the underserved communities of Memphis today. He's just as relaxed. And you said two things today many, but two that inspired me, and that is why I'm particularly special that you're our 150th Hope Inside location is a bit of a unique demarcation mark. One was, you had said before I did, normally I'm the one saying that the issue is not so much race today. Racism exists, he said that, I didn't. But the issue is more so class than race. This issue of a lack of aspiration, a lack of feeling that you can progress economically, that's really the undercurrent of stress in this country that you're witnessing. Did you say that?
I did. It's more, it's not so much race as it is socioeconomic.
Yeah.
And the underlying, in my opinion, the underlying socioeconomic issue is education.
Or the lack thereof.
The lack thereof,
Yeah.
primarily. And we find that in Mississippi, it's one of our challenges. We've been doing much better, and our percentage increase numbers have been phenomenal. But the rest of the country doesn't know that.
Yeah, he was saying that I've got a bad reputation, a bad image of Mississippi. So does most of America, and that maybe Mississippi's done a crappy job of marketing the state. But I need to come and see for myself. So I'm going to accept his invitation to come to Jackson, Mississippi, so he can re-educate me. But what he's told me, a few things he's told me, is actually quite impressive. You're an African American on your board now, right?
Oh, we have two. We have a lady by the name of Tony Cooley.
The board of the bank, by the way. This is a $14
This is
billion
a corporation.
bank.
Yeah, this is a publicly run company.
Publicly run bank.
Yeah. We have just rolling off Leroy Walker. He's aging out.
Okay.
Leroy was recognized nationally by the 100 Black Men Association.
Yeah. Tommy Dorch.
Yeah.
He's on our board.
And Tony Cooley, who is head of our enterprise risk management group, and she is an attorney. Worked in Atlanta, came back home. She runs a company that is a tier 1 supplier to both Nissan and Toyota in Mississippi.
So you have two African Americans right now on your board of directors for your $14 billion bank in Mississippi.
Yes, and you seem surprised.
Yes.
I mean, we just
Yes,
all
I
right,
am.
Look. One of the ones that has rolled off was the first African American to graduate from Ole Miss Law School, and then became the first African American Supreme Court Justice of the state of Mississippi.
See, he even knows the history. So I asked Jerry, like, how'd you get so cool, right? So Jerry tells me he grew up in Detroit, and he loves R&B music. I'm not gonna force him to dance, but my guess is he can do a little bit of that.
No, don't want to do that. That would not be a pretty sight.
but you were comfortable with all races of people because you said your neighborhood was an integrated neighborhood.
We are so impacted by our experiences. We grow up.
Yeah.
And my experience when I was young in middle school, elementary school was really in a neighborhood that was fully integrated, and we had African Americans, we had whites, we had South Americans, we had just about every nationality you could think of that had homes, and it was a lower middle class area. We didn't know anything was wrong. Everything, I mean, we all had about the same, and we all had good families.
Yeah.
And so I think the difference was just the upbringing, the experience we had. So we didn't think much about race.
Well, your mom and dad did good, Jerry, and I'm proud to call Jerry a new friend. And I will accept his invitation to go to Mississippi, and hopefully he'll accept my invitation to come to Atlanta and speak at our Hope Global Forum, which I just announced to him on this video. He didn't know much about it, but I'm sure if he can make it, he can. And we're honored to have Trustmark Bank as our 150th Hope Inside location, and Hope Inside the workplace specifically, in our growing network of locations that change America and change our world in this lifetime. Look them up, go online, see what they're doing, check him out. Follow them on social media if they have accounts. You have social media accounts?
We do.
They do. At $14 billion, they should. They're publicly traded. And if you like what you see, who knows, they may end up being your mortgage holder or something. All right, peace and light.
Thank you.